Imagine walking into an Apple store 2 years from now. You are not looking for the biggest screen. You're not looking for the most expensive device. You reach for the smallest iPad on the table, the one most people usually ignore. You pick it up, and then you realize something that makes you stop for a second. This tiny iPad is running the exact same Pro-level chip as Apple's flagship iPhone. Not a cut-down version. Not last year's leftovers. The real, full-power A20 Pro. If that sounds crazy, you're not alone. But according to new leaks, this is exactly what Apple might be planning. And if it's true, the iPad mini 8 could quietly become one of the most powerful small devices Apple has ever made. This is not just another routine refresh story. This is one of those leaks that forces you to rethink how Apple sees its smallest products. Because for years, the iPad mini has lived in an odd space. People love the size. People love how easy it is to carry. But it has almost always felt like a step behind in performance. Good, but not great. Fast, but not cutting edge. That may finally change with the iPad mini 8. And once you understand where this leak comes from and what it actually means, it becomes very hard to ignore. Let's start with the source, because this is not coming from random guesses or concept art. In early December, an internal pre-release build of iOS 26 leaked out. This is the kind of software that is never meant to leave Apple's internal servers. It is packed with references to future devices, internal model numbers, and chip pairings that Apple hasn't announced yet. Developers and leakers started digging through this code line by line, and that's where things got interesting. A well-known Chinese leaker named Kong pulled together several findings from this leaked build and shared them publicly. Among all the expected references to upcoming iPhones and iPads, there was a specific detail that stood out. 2 unreleased iPad models appeared in the code, labeled with the internal identifiers J510 and J511. These model numbers do not match any current iPad on the market. According to multiple sources, they point to the next-generation iPad mini, commonly referred to as the iPad mini 8. What really raised eyebrows was what appeared next to those code names. A chip reference labeled A20 Pro. If Apple follows its usual naming pattern, the A20 Pro would be the flagship chip inside the iPhone 18 Pro models, expected around fall 2026. That is Apple's best phone chip of that generation. The one reserved for its most expensive and most powerful smartphones. So let's slow this down and make it very clear. This internal code is suggesting that Apple is testing an iPad mini with the same Pro-level chip as the iPhone 18 Pro. Not an older chip, not a standard A-series chip, the Pro version. That alone would be a major shift from how Apple has treated the iPad mini in the past. And here's where it gets even more interesting. This isn't the first time these exact iPad mini 8 model numbers have shown up in leaks. Back in August, a separate internal code leak referenced J510 and J511 as well. But at that time, those same models were linked to the A19 Pro chip instead. Same device IDs, different chip. Fast forward to this newer iOS 26 build, and suddenly those same device IDs are now paired with A20 Pro. That tells us something important. It strongly suggests that Apple didn't invent a new device out of nowhere. Instead, Apple likely pushed the launch of the iPad mini 8 further down the timeline and updated the chip to whatever the newest flagship processor would be at that time. In other words, the product moved forward, not backward. This lines up perfectly with the rumored launch window. Right now, most reports suggest the iPad mini 8 will arrive in late 2026. That timing is critical. Late 2026 is when the iPhone 18 lineup is expected to be well established, including the iPhone 18 Pro with the A20 Pro chip. If Apple launches the iPad mini 8 around that same period, it makes sense to give it the same silicon. This may not sound revolutionary at first, but when you look at Apple's history, it absolutely is. Traditionally, Apple introduces a new chip with the iPhone, then trickles it down to other devices later. The iPad mini usually gets a chip that is already a generation old. It's still fast, but it's not Apple's best. That pattern has been consistent for years. If this leak is accurate, Apple is breaking that pattern. The iPad mini 8 would launch with Apple's top-tier mobile chip of that generation. No compromise. no delay. Same class of performance as the Pro iPhone. Now let's talk about why that matters in real life. The A20 Pro is expected to be built on an advanced process node, likely improving both performance and efficiency. That means faster CPU cores, stronger GPU performance, and a much more capable neural engine. In practical terms, this tiny iPad could handle tasks that were previously reserved for much larger and more expensive devices. High-end mobile games, heavy multitasking, advanced photo and video editing, on-device AI features, real-time effects, augmented reality. All of that becomes much more realistic on a device this size when it's powered by a Pro-level chip. But performance is only half the story. The other major rumor surrounding the iPad mini 8 is the display. Multiple reports suggest Apple is finally planning to move the iPad mini from LCD to OLED. If that happens, it completely changes how this device feels. An OLED display would bring deeper blacks, better contrast, richer colors, and a more premium viewing experience overall. Content would look closer to what you see on an iPhone Pro. Movies would look better. Games would look more immersive. Reading at night would be easier on the eyes. Combined with the A20 Pro, this turns the iPad mini from a nice small tablet into a true flagship-class device, just in a compact body. Think about what that means for different types of users. For travelers, this could be the perfect companion. It's small enough to fit into almost any bag, easy to hold on a plane, powerful enough to stream high-quality video, edit photos, and even get work done. For students, it could be an ideal note-taking, reading, and research device that doesn't feel slow or outdated after a year or two. For gamers, it's essentially iPhone 18 Pro power on a larger screen that's still comfortable to hold. And for a lot of people, this might quietly become the most powerful computer they own, even though it's the smallest. That's the part that really stands out. Power is no longer tied to size. Now, let's pause and be realistic for a moment. This is still based on leaks. Apple has not officially announced anything. Plans change. Hardware decisions change. Products get delayed or reworked. We already saw evidence of that with the chip shifting from A19 Pro to A20 Pro between leaks. So nothing here is guaranteed. But it's important to understand why many people are taking this leak seriously. The leaker behind this information, Kong, has a strong track record. In the past, he has accurately shared details about Apple products well before launch. In fact, in 2021, Apple reportedly sent legal warning letters to several Chinese leakers, including Kong, which tells you something important. Apple does not go after people who are guessing. They go after people who are usually right. On top of that, this isn't just a rumor posted without evidence. These references are said to come directly from internal iOS 26 code. That gives the information more weight than a random supply chain claim. And when the same device code names keep appearing across multiple leaks, with the details becoming more refined over time, it suggests we are seeing Apple's roadmap evolve, not fiction being created. So what should you actually do with this information? Here's the honest answer. If you love small devices and you've been waiting for Apple to truly take the iPad mini seriously again, the iPad mini 8 might be the one to wait for. On paper, an A20 Pro chip combined with an OLED display and a compact body is close to the dream scenario for many fans. However, late 2026 is still a long way off. If your current tablet is struggling, or you need something now for school, work, or travel, it doesn't make sense to put your life on hold for 2 years. Technology is meant to be used, not waited on forever. But if your current setup is fine and you tend to keep your devices for a long time, waiting could pay off. A mini with pro-level performance and a premium display could easily stay relevant for many years. It wouldn't feel outdated quickly. It would age very well. My personal opinion is this. If Apple really goes through with this plan, it shows a deeper shift in how the company thinks about product tiers. Instead of limiting power to large, expensive devices, Apple seems increasingly comfortable putting rise performance into small form factors. And that's a good thing for users. The iPad mini 8, if these leaks are accurate, wouldn't just be a smaller iPad. It would be a pocket powerhouse. A device that proves size no longer limits capability. For the right person, It could be one of the most exciting Apple products in years. Now I want to hear from you. If Apple releases an iPad mini 8 in late 2026 with an A20 Pro chip and an OLED display, would you buy it? Would you wait for it? Or do you prefer larger iPads or a MacBook instead? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And if you liked the video, subscribe to the channel, share the video, and hit the bell icon so you don't miss future leaks and updates.